seated position. Make yourself comfortable. You can sit on a folded blanket if you like, or a small cushion. Maybe cross your legs. Find some way to let your hips just be a little bit higher than your knees. And then take your palms and maybe rub the tops of your thighs. Just notice that feeling, the feeling on your palms, the feeling on your thighs. And then allow your hands to find a spot to rest on your knees or on your legs, or maybe you can hold your hands in your lap, just some comfortable place. And let's start with our eyes open. Let's take some deep inhales and open mouth exhales. We'll do it 3 times. So inhale. One more time. This time let it go all the way out. And now close your mouth, maybe close your eyes. And as you resume your breathing, allow your inhales to fill you up all the way. And as you exhale, let it be as long and slow as your inhale was. Keep going. Inhale and feel your lungs expand in every direction, side to side, front and back. As you exhale, bring it all in. Feel that grounding back into your mat, back into the earth. Keep these breaths big, deep, and long. And if you haven't already, start to channel some breath through the back of your throat so that you can hear your breath. You can feel it as it moves through your throat. Become aware of what it feels like for your breath to fully inhabit your body. As we move through our practice today, we may find ourselves in some situations that require a little more effort, give us a little bit more resistance. As we move through these situations, let's remember to fully breathe in and fully breathe out. On your next inhale, you can keep your eyes closed or blink them open and reach your arms all the way up overhead. Allow your palms to touch. Reach for the ceiling with your fingertips. Pull your shoulders down at the same time. Feel your chest lifting. Feel your side ribs pulling in toward each other. Feel your side waist elongating and pulling in. Keep breathing. And on your next exhale, twist open to the left. Right hand comes to your left knee. As you inhale deeply, lengthen your spine. And as you exhale deeply, twist a little bit more. On your next inhale, lift all the way up, come all the way back to center, and pause here for your exhale. Inhale again here. On your next exhale, twist open to the right. Left hand finds your right knee. Right hand finds the mat behind you. Lengthen on your inhale and twist a little more on your exhale. On your next inhale, lift all the way up, come all the way back to center. Bring your hands down to the mat in front of you. Walk your fingers out, reaching long. Reach your spine long as you push your sit bones back behind you. Reach and extend. Keep breathing here. As you're ready, begin to walk your hands over to the right. Bring your torso over that right knee. Sink your left hip down into the mat a little bit more. Notice what these big deep breaths can offer you. Walk your hands all the way through center and then over to the left. Torso over your left knee. Sink that hip down, that right hip. Walk your hands back through center and then walk your hands closer to your body and lift your torso. Change the cross of your legs so that the other leg is now on top. Sit up tall and then walk your hands forward all the way. Reaching forward, sit bones reaching back. Notice what's going on now in that different hip. Notice how it feels different. Walk your hands back towards your body. Lift your torso. Bring your hands behind your hips. Let your fingertips point backwards behind you. Bend your elbows so you lean your torso back. Squeeze your elbows together. Feel your chest lift. And then lengthen your arms, finding a back bend here. Even though we're back bending and our chest is lifting, we're still squeezing our ribs toward each other, hugging that torso in. Breathe here. Bend your elbows. You can walk your hands back around in front of you. Allow your hands to find your knees now. As you inhale, pull your chest forward and then over to the left. Exhale, round your spine and then over to the right. Inhale, forward and left. Exhale, round back, move to the right. Keep going, these big circles with your torsos and your breath. And when you're ready, reverse direction. Keep following your breath. And come to center. We're going to come to our hands and knees. If you were sitting on a blanket, you can just move it over to the side, but keep it handy because we're going to use it later. When you're on your hands and knees, first let's dip your belly down to the mat, lift your hips and lift your chest. Exhale, round your spine up. Really pull those shoulder blades away from each other. One more time, inhale, dip your belly, lift your hips, lift your chest. Exhale, round your spine all the way up. Come back to a neutral spine. Keep your knees and your hips right where they are so your hips will stay over your knees. And then begin to walk your hands out in front of you. And you can walk them out until maybe your forearms come to the mat, and begin to allow your chest and your head to drift toward the mat. As you allow your chest and head to drift toward the mat right now, let's not lead with the chin. Lead allowing your nose or your forehead to be inching closer to the mat, not your chin. Let's protect our necks this morning. Breathe deeply here. Notice where you feel sensation. On your next inhale, begin to shift your hips a little bit forward so that you are able to bend your elbows, and then walk your elbows back so that they are on the mat. You're on your forearms now, your elbows are right under your shoulders. So we're on our knees and our forearms. So keep your toes tucked for a little balance here, and then lift your right leg so that your foot is pointing up toward the ceiling. The sole of your foot is facing the ceiling, your knee is bent. And right here, we're going to lift that leg toward the ceiling a little bit more, pull that knee in toward the midline. And while you're here, check in with your lower belly. It kind of wants to hang out, so instead pull it in. Make it tight, make it support that lower back. So lower your knee just a bit, and then lift it again. We're going to do some pulses here. Up and down. Let your gaze be between your forearms so that you're not straining your neck. One more, up and hold. And then bring that knee back down to the mat. And then let's do the other leg. Keep your right toes tucked, left leg lifts, knee is bent, sole of your foot facing the ceiling. Check in with your lower belly, and then extend that leg up and bend that knee again. And let's pulse up and down. How is your breath? Next time you go up, hold there. And then lower that knee to the mat. Now let's come to your hands. So put your hands right where your elbows were, right underneath your shoulders. Make sure your knees are under your hips so they're spread far enough, and keep your toes tucked for balance. And now let's lift that right leg again. Sole of the foot pointing up toward the ceiling. We're on our hands this time. That's really the only difference. And so we're going to breathe and pulse that foot up. Check your lower belly. And the next time you lift it, pause right there. You can stay here if you like. You can begin to squeeze that foot towards your glutes if you like. And if you like, you can begin to lift the opposite hand off the mat and reach back and find that foot. If you find your foot, press that foot into your hand. Try to lift your leg a little bit more. Keep that knee pulling into the midline. Lift your chest and breathe. If you have the bind, gently release it. Bring the hand and the knee back to the mat. As you exhale, round your spine up. Inhale, dip it down into your cow pose and come back to neutral. And we'll go to the other leg. Now your left leg lifts, and then we'll start to do our pulses here, up and down. Keep that torso tight and supporting your back here. We're asking a lot of our back muscles right here. So it's the support that they need. And next time you lift, pause here. And you can stay here if you like, or begin to squeeze that foot towards your glutes. Maybe you lift the right hand or reach back to find that foot. If you find the foot, squeeze the knee into the midline, press the foot into the hand, lift your chest, and breathe. And when you're ready, release that bind. Bring everything back to the mat. Exhale again and round your spine. Inhale into your cow pose. Again, exhale into your cat pose. And then come back to center. Keep your your toes tucked. Make sure that your hands are right under your shoulders. Begin to lift your knees and start to push your hips back and up, finding your downward facing dog. And take your time here, walking it out, seeing what you feel. We've built a little bit of heat already, so this might be a juicier downward facing dog than the first one normally is. And as you're ready, on your inhale, begin to walk your feet up to the top of the mat. Find your forward fold. You can hold on to your elbows, sway side to side, whatever movements feel good right now in this forward fold. On your next inhale, lift up halfway. Hands find your shins. Pull your shoulder blades toward each other. Exhale, fold forward, and inhale all the way up to standing. Bring your hands to your heart. Take a moment here. Inhale deeply. Exhale. One more time. Deep inhale. Exhale. On your next inhale, arms lift all the way up overhead. Exhale, bend at the knees, hinge at the hips, fold all the way forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold forward, plant your hands, step your right foot to the back of the mat. Keep that back knee lifted for a moment. Inhale as you bend into your front leg, lunging forward, pull your chest forward. Exhale, push your hips back and straighten that leg any amount, that front leg. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, straighten that leg. Inhale, come forward, and now lower that back knee to the mat. And now slide your hips back, lengthening that front leg. Keep pulling your hips back. You can keep a micro bend in that front knee if you like. Keep your hands right where they are, planted up at the same level as your front foot. And as you inhale, lift your chest a little bit. Reach it forward. Good. Now plant your right hand, that's the opposite hand. Bring your left hand to your hip and begin to twist open toward that lengthened leg. Pull that front hip back as you twist open. You might feel some sensation on the outside of that lengthened leg. See if you can pull your chest back just a little bit. On your next exhale, turn your chest toward the mat, bend into your front knee. Inhale, lift your back knee, step your front foot to the back of the mat, find your plank. Pause here in your plank. You can stay here for just a moment if you like, or on your next exhale, you can lower your left forearm to the mat, right forearm to the mat. Inhale, right hand back to the mat, left hand back to the mat. Exhale, right forearm down, left forearm down. Inhale, left hand, right hand, back in our plank. On your next inhale, come forward to the tips of your toes. Exhale, lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale, find your upward facing dog. Exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, lift your right leg up to the ceiling. Exhale, step it through between your hands. Keep your back knee lifted. Bring your chest forward. Look forward as you sink your hips down. Back knee stays lifted as you lengthen that front leg. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, lengthen that front leg. Inhale, bend that knee and come forward, and then lower that back knee down. On your next exhale, glide your hips back, lengthen your front leg, and pause here. Enjoy your breath. Pull that front hip back. Hands stay in line with that front foot. Can you lengthen your chest forward any more? You can stay here if you like, or plant your left hand, your opposite hand, right hand comes to your hip, and begin to twist open in the direction of your right leg. It's the front leg. Pull that front hip back as you twist. On your next exhale, turn your chest toward the mat, bring the hand back to the mat, bend into your front knee. Lift your back knee, step your back foot up to the front, find your forward fold. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold, plant your hands, step your right foot to the back of the mat. Grab your blanket. We're going to lower that back knee down. Even if you don't normally use a blanket, for your knee. I'm going to invite you to do it right now because we're going to do something a little bit different. So back knee is down, back toes stay tucked. Inhale up into your hanumanasana, into your lunge. Now right now we're going to push our hips back so that my hips are up, not sinking down. And before I sink down, I'm going to squeeze my front heel and my back knee toward each other, and then I'm going to sink my hips down. Finding my hanumanasana. Notice that you might feel some opening in the front of that bottom leg. Notice what you feel. And here, let's remember the integrity of our torso. So ribs hugging in toward each other, hip points hugging toward each other. And you can stay here if you like, because there's a lot of work to do here. Or you can begin to bend that back knee, squeezing that heel toward your glutes. Keep your left arm lifted. Reach back and maybe hold your foot with your right hand. Pull it towards your glutes. And you can stay here if you like, or maybe you reach back and hold that foot with both feet. This is some pretty good balance work here. So if you wobble, that's fine. It means you're doing the work. You can make sure that your chest stays lifted as you pull that foot a little closer to your glutes. And then if you like, you can slowly start to press your foot into your hands, pressing it away from you. Give yourself a little back bend here. And if you have the bind, gently release the bind, release that foot back to the mat. Plant your hands, lift your back knee. Step your front foot to the back of the mat. Your blanket can stay right there for just a minute. Inhale forward to the tips of your toes. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Very good. Next, inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, step it forward between your hands. Lower your back knee down onto the blanket. Make any adjustments you need to make here. On your next inhale, torso and arms rise. Hips stay lifted. Let's check in with our torso, find that integrity, and then squeeze the knee and the heel toward each other energetically. And then maybe sink your hips down. Keep breathing. And decide if you want to stay here or if you want to begin to bend that back knee, squeezing the heel to your glutes. Maybe you reach back with your left hand to hold that foot. Maybe you reach back with your other hand. Hold that foot. Squeeze it in. Notice where it's the sensation. How is your breath? How can it support you here? If you have the bind, maybe you start to kick that foot into your hands, pressing it away, finding a small back bend. If you have the bind, gently release it. Foot comes back to the mat. Plant your hands. Lift your back knee. Gracefully move that blanket out of the way. Step your back foot up to the front of the mat. Find your forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold forward and pause here. You can take your peace fingers, wrap them around your big toes. You can use the fingers and your toes to pull yourself into this forward fold a little bit more if you like. Follow your breath. Deep inhale, deep exhale. On your next inhale, lift up halfway and pause there. And then on your next inhale, lift up all the way. Hands reach all the way up. Exhale your hands to your heart. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands. Step both feet to the back of the mat into your plank. You can stay here for a moment in your plank, or exhale, left elbow down, right elbow down. Inhale, right hand, left hand. Exhale, right elbow down. Exhale, left elbow down. Inhale, left hand, right hand. On your next inhale, come forward. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Deep inhale, open mouth, exhale. On your next inhale, lift your left leg up toward the ceiling. Exhale, step it through between your hands. Step your right foot out to the right a few inches, lower the back heel down. Inhale, torso and arms rise, warrior one. Settle in to your warrior one. Check to see that front knee, so that look down to your, at least your first two toes on the inside of that front knee. Back heel pressing behind you. Lower your shoulders away from your ears just a little bit. On your next inhale, lengthen that front leg. Maybe lift your front toes up off the mat. And then as you exhale, begin to fold forward about halfway. Pull that front hip back. Back foot stays grounded. Breathe here. You can lower your torso a little bit more. Keep your hands up if you can. And then when you're ready, you can bring your hands to the mat or to blocks framing that front foot. Inhale to lengthen your spine as you pull that front hip back. And if you like, you can begin to exhale and fold your torso over that lengthened front leg. I find this a really powerful place for some deep breathing. On your next inhale, lengthen your spine. Bring your right hand to the inside of that front foot, and you can leave it on the mat or come to your fingertips, or a block is a really nice tool to have right here. You can place your hand anywhere so it's inside that front foot. Bring your left hand to your left hip. Inhale to lengthen your spine forward. And as you exhale, maybe you begin to turn your chest toward the left, toward that front leg. And if your shoulders are kind of even stacked on top of each other, maybe you lift that top hand. Bring that top hand to your hip. Turn your torso to face the mat. Bring that top hand back to the mat. Move your block out of the way. Bend into your front leg. Lift your back heel. Both hands planted. Step your front foot to the back of the mat. We'll meet in downward facing dog. However you want to get there. Downward facing dog is where we're headed. From downward facing dog, inhale your right leg up to the ceiling. Exhale, step it through between your hands. Step your left foot out to the left a few inches. Lower that back heel down. Inhale, torso and arms rise. Make any adjustments. Settle into your warrior one. Let your back leg give you all the support. Maybe lift the big toe of that back foot. Keep breathing. Can you allow your shoulders to drift away from your ears? On your next inhale, lengthen that front leg. As you exhale, fold your torso over about halfway. Keep it long, keep that hip pulling back. Breathe right here. Now maybe fold your torso a little bit more. Keep your hands lifted if you can. And then when you're ready, you can find the blocks or find the mat. Keep that front hip pulling back. Inhale, lengthen your spine, lengthen your chest. And exhale, if you like, fold over that front knee. On your next inhale, lift your torso, lift up halfway. Bring that left hand inside the right foot. Decide if you want to use a prop. It's really helpful here. Bring that right hand to your right hip. Inhale, lengthen your torso. And as you exhale, start to twist open to the right. Keep pulling that right hip back. Maybe you extend that top hand up. You guys are working so strongly, it's really beautiful. Bring that top hand back to your hip. Turn your torso to the mat. Move the block out of the way. Place both hands to frame that front foot. Lift your back heel. Step your back foot up to the top of the mat. Inhale, lift up halfway. Fold over as you exhale. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale your hands to your heart. Inhale, arms all the way up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Plant your hands. Step your right foot to the back of the mat. Dial that heel down. Inhale your right arm directly forward. Inhale it up. Pause here for just a moment. And then inhale to lift your torso and arms. Let's find warrior two. Warrior two, our back heel is pressing toward the back of the mat. Again, maybe lift that big toe of that foot to see what it activates in that back leg. Can you see your first two toes of your front foot? Bring your back hand to your hip. Reach forward, and you can use a block, or you can put your hand on the mat a few inches outside that front pinky toe. Lift that back leg as you lengthen your standing leg. Find Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Turn your chest to the side. Maybe extend that top arm. Bottom leg, so active. Find a strong gazing point. Find your drishti. Maybe you can float that bottom hand up just a little to play with balance. As you're ready, bend into your knee. Set that back foot down gently. Find warrior two. Settle in. Good. Inhale to lengthen that front leg. Start to push your hips toward the back of the mat as you reach forward with your hand, with your torso. Maybe that front arm drops down behind your leg. Back arm extends up. You can rest your hand gently on a block or gently on the mat if you like, but it's really only just so you know where you are in space. It's not holding you up. Your beautiful, strong torso is holding you up here. Keep breathing. Those big, refreshing, powerful breaths. On your next exhale, bend into the front knee and then inhale your torso back into your warrior two. Beautiful. Inhale to lengthen both legs, lengthen your arms up overhead. Turn your toes toward the back of the mat, all of your toes. Bend into your right knee now. We'll find warrior two on this side. Beautiful. In your warrior two. Bring your back hand to your hip. You can use your block or find a spot on the floor. Reach for that spot right outside that pinky toe, about 12 inches ahead. Lift that back leg. Find your Ardha Chandrasana. Maybe you think about floating that bottom hand up. See what happens. And if you fall out, it's okay because you're resilient. Come back. Bend into that standing leg. Gently let that back foot come down into your warrior two. Good. Inhale to lengthen that front leg. Start pushing your hips back as you reach your torso forward long over that front leg. And then that front arm comes behind the leg. Back arm lifts up. Our triangle pose, our trikonasana. Can you lean your chest back? Breathe. On your next exhale, bend into that front knee. Inhale, lift your torso. Find your warrior two. Yes. Inhale, lengthen your arms and your legs. Turn all 10 toes to the front of the mat. Bring your hands down, lift your back heel. You can step your front foot back. Let's find our downward facing dog. Take your own journey. You can take your chaturanga if you want to. And once you're in your downward facing dog, bring your knees to the mat. Sit back on your heels for just a moment. Allow your palms to rest face up in your lap. The backs of your hands are on your thighs. Maybe allow your gaze to soften or close your eyes for just a moment. And tune in to your breath. You can blink your eyes open. And now we're going to move into a little bit different part of the practice. I'm going to take a sip of water. Hold on. So you'll want to grab your blocks and your blanket and take the front part of your mat and fold it back on itself. And you can fold it back once. I'm just going to fold it back and forward. So now I've got a 3-ply cushion because we're going to be on our knees here. And grab your blocks. Your blocks, we're going to start on the tall height, and you'll start with your blocks as you lift up your hips. Your blocks are going to stay in line with your hips through what we're moving through. Now your blanket, you're going to put in front of the top of your mat, and let's start with the right foot. So you're going to you're on your left knee, step your right foot forward onto the blanket. And we're just going to start up here. Start pushing, keep both knees bent. Start pushing that blanket a little bit forward as you sink your hips down. We're in our hanumanasana. We've been here already today. Keep those back toes tucked. So as if you're going to be pushing the mat away from you in the back. And you can start here, settle in. See if you can sink your hips a little bit lower. And if you can sink your hips a little bit lower, maybe continue to keep the sole of the foot on that blanket and start to slide that blanket forward with control, slowly. We are not in a hurry here, so let's don't do anything too quickly here. Be sure that you're pulling that front hip back. It really wants to sneak forward. We're trying to keep our hips somewhat in line. They're not going to be perfectly in line, but we're trying to keep them in line. If you are in this position and you feel like you can go forward a little bit more, continue to start to slide that foot forward a little bit more. Maybe the heel might be the only thing on the front of the blanket now. Pushing forward with your heel. If you want to walk your blocks forward a little bit, you can. Not too far forward though, because we don't want our torso to fold forward. Keep a micro bend in this front knee. And what are you doing with your breath? As you are in in this shape, and this shape here is evolving even as you breathe. Let your breath support you here. Do not move too quickly. Stay aware of your own sensations. There is no prize, no reward for sinking your hips all the way to the mat. This is practice. When you feel that you've had enough of this shape, begin to lift your hips. Pull that front foot back closer towards you until you come back to both knees. And when you come back to both knees, just take a moment, sit back on your heels, come to your breath. And when you're ready, we will move to practice with our other leg. So blocks on tallest height. Come to stand on your knees. Step your left foot forward onto your blanket, into your hanumanasana. You can walk your blocks forward a little bit as you start to sink your hips down. Back toes stay tucked. Torso, chest stays lifted. Remember, we're going to try to keep our hips in line with each other. And you can slowly begin to take your journey, exploring how far you want to push out that blanket. And remember that your legs are different. Can you soften your shoulders down just a little? And when you've had enough, press into your hands, lift your hips, pull that foot back, come to your knees, and you can sit your hips back onto your heels. Come forward, bring your hands to the mat in front of you, tuck your toes. Let the balls of your big toe mounds touch each other. All 10 toes are on the mat, and then slowly start to sit your hips back to your heels. You can bring your hands to your knees and lean forward a little bit if you need to. But eventually try to sit your hips on your heels. Allow your palms to rest face up on your lap. This can be pretty intense, so if you would like a blanket under your knees or behind your thighs, you can do that. As long as it's not pain, though, let's try to stay with it. You can spread your fingers, bring your fingertips to touch right in front of your chest. All 10 fingertips are touching each other. As you inhale, your fingertips spread apart for the length of that breath. As you exhale, bring your fingertips back to touch and let that take the length of that breath. Inhale to open. Exhale, come back to touch. You can lean forward, bring your hands to the mat, come up off your heels, untuck your toes. You can tap your feet out a little bit if that feels good. Circle your ankles. Whatever you need to do to release some of that sensation, go ahead. And then we're going to find our way onto our backs. We'll do a few back bends here. So come to your back, soles of your feet on the mat, hip width distance apart, elbows hugging into your ribs, backs of your upper arms pressing into the mat, fingertips pointed toward the ceiling. And as your upper arms press into the mat, you lift your chest a little bit and then shimmy your shoulders together a little bit. So now your chest and upper back are lifted off the mat. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale and lift those hips up as high as you can. Press the back of your head into the mat. Squeeze your knees energetically toward each other. Breathe here. Can you lift your hips a little bit higher? On your next exhale, gently lower everything to the mat. You can windshield wiper your knees a little bit. And then come back to center. We'll set up for that bridge again. Elbows squeeze into your ribs. Chest begins to lift up off the mat. As you inhale, press your feet into the mat. Lift your hips. Now, if you like, you can reach your arms alongside your body, maybe underneath your body. Your hands find each other. Lift your hips just a little bit more. Pull your shoulders together a little bit more. Keep breathing. This is so good for our back body, our hamstrings, our glutes, our back. And release your bind slowly. Release your hips to the mat. Sway your knees side to side. And we will do one more back bend here. And you can take another bridge if you like, or if you would like to practice your upward facing bow, bring your hands onto the mat, right above your shoulders, fingertips pointing toward your shoulders, elbows pointed up. Feet hip width distance apart. Begin to press your feet into the mat, press your hands into the mat. Lengthen your arms and legs. Keep breathing. And as you're ready, slowly lower yourself back to the mat. Sway your knees side to side. You can hug your knees into your chest. Gently rock yourself side to side. Bring your feet back to the mat. Cross your left ankle over your right knee so you find your figure four here. You can take a moment here. It might feel good to just rock side to side a little bit. You push that top knee away from you. When you come back to center, lift that bottom knee. Maybe you thread your hands between your legs. Hold on to that back thigh and start to gently pull your legs toward your chest. Gently, gently. That left knee, you can use your left elbow to press that knee away. If you like, you can lengthen your top leg, lengthen that foot up toward the ceiling. See what that offers you. Keep that top ankle crossed exactly like it is and lower the bottom foot back to the mat. So the sole of your right foot is on the mat. Extend your arms out to a T, palms face down. Press that right foot into the mat. Lift your hips up. Scoot your hips over to the left. And then roll your hips so that the sole of your left foot finds the floor. You're in a twist here. Continue to push that left knee away from you. Lift that bottom knee and that ankle back up to center. Press your foot into the mat and bring your hips back to center. Uncross your legs. You can take a bigger windshield wiper here if you like. And then plant the left foot on the mat. The sole of the left foot plants on the mat. Right ankle crosses over that left knee. Press that knee away from you energetically. You can rock side to side here if that feels nice. And when you're ready, you can start to lift that bottom foot, start to bring your legs closer to you. Thread your hands between your legs and hold on to the back of that left thigh. Press your elbow against your knee to keep pushing that away. And just explore where you might want to take this. Bring that bottom foot back to the mat. Spread your arms out to a T. Press that foot into the mat as you lift your hips and take your hips over to the right. And then lean the foot, those connected legs over to the left so that your sole of your right foot finds the floor. Press that top knee away. knees back to center. Bring your hips back to center. You can uncross your leg. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice big squeeze. And take any movements that you need to take before you set yourself up into your Shavasana position. Whatever that looks like.